Hello everybody, I'm Oscar, and I have just come back from seeing 300 Rise of Empire. Now this is the sequel to 300, as you can tell, which is personally one of my all-time favourite films. I just love the visual style of it. I thought it's one of it's Gerard Butler's best performance and one of his only good acting roles, I think. Michael Fassbender gave a very good performance from the little time he was in it. Visually looked great. I thought the story was fantastic, and overall I loved the first 300. So I was kind of a little bit excited when it was announced that a 300 sequel was going to be in the works. And then I started seeing a little bit more about it, and I was like, okay. Zack Snyder's not coming back to direct it because he's directing Man of Steel. He did produce the film, and he was a writing credit. I'm not sure how much he was involved with in the screenplay, but he was credited. We got a few characters back, like the actor who played Xerxes and Lena Headey, who played Queen Gordo, I think that was her name, the wife of King Leonidas. And I was kind of skeptical about this film just because it got delayed nearly a year from its original release date. It was meant to come out August of 2013, and it's just come out this week. It had some additions, such as Eva Green was a new character in the film. We got a new lead. So what do I think of the film? Well, I'm just going to get the negatives out the way first. This was quite a disappointing film in my opinion. I'm going to start off by saying, like, it was interesting how this was tied into the 300 world. This film took place before, in between, and after the first 300. What do you mean by, well, it's like this is a completely different battle going on from what's happening with King Leonidas and Xerxes. This battle is between Athens and Eva Green's character. Within this film we see kind of like a flashback of how Xerxes became who he was and why he was just so angry. The main character who we have did something. I'm not going to fully say what. He did something that annoyed Xerxes to an extent, and for some reason it's like then he decided to kind of challenge the Spartans. Why not Athens? They were the ones that did this thing to you, and then you want vengeance on them, but then they did this thing. I don't understand. But the main kind of villain for the Athens, which I don't understand why they threw in the Athens into this whole thing. It's like, from what I understand, they weren't even united with the Spartans. Why did they bother even introducing Athens? We get a backstory for Eva Green and Xerxes. You know, we learn a bit more about each one of these. We learn that Eva Green was Greek. Eventually she became a Persian by heart. And so then she decides to take it up on her own people, I don't know. I guess she's taking vengeance for Xerxes, who in the whole mix of this is trying to take on the Spartans for some. This film was kind of disadvantaged just because it didn't have a source material to go off. Like there isn't a 300 Rise of Empire comic that Frank Miller wrote. Apparently this is more of an adaptation to kind of the spin-off graphic novel that Frank Miller is working on, or he's done. I'm not sure exactly if it's a fully released comic yet, but the comic Xerxes, which kind of explains why we got a backstory to Xerxes. And this is why I kind of had a problem with. We got a backstory to Xerxes and a backstory to Eva Green's character. The Persians. The villains. And we didn't get a backstory to any of the Athens. We didn't get a backstory to our main protagonist. And he wasn't an interesting character that we kind of wanted him to succeed. It was just a boring, bland guy that we don't know anything about. We know that he did this thing to Xerxes that made him annoyed, and now he's fighting the Eva Green. We don't get anything behind him. I don't even know his name. I don't even know his name, and I just seen the film. I'm kind of glad though that we got a little bit of that we got some backstory behind Eva Green, because when I saw her in the trailer, I saw she was wielding 2 swords. I was like, I'm already going to buy that she's a warrior and she can fight anyone. But during this backstory, I really did believe that, yes, I believe this character is truly a warrior and she can take on anyone. I believe that. I'm glad that she had that backstory. But could we have had some backstory to Athens? You just threw Athens into this mix for really no reason, because like in the first film there wasn't really any mention of Athens. The Spartans never interacted with Athens. Persians never talked about Athens. They might have done, but not in depth. So why throw Athens into this? The fight scenes were really cool though. I really did like the stylistic point of it. It had the 300 look to it, which is what I really do like about the first film. You know, it kept it without Zack Snyder even directing it. Still love that style. But the blood, I didn't think I would really say this, but the blood was just too much. It's like, in the first film, I mean, like, when swords came slashing down on flesh, there was slicing and blood went, you know, and it looked realistic and it looked cool. You know, it was like gruesome. In this film, it's really cartoony blood. It's like, someone gets like a scratch there and then there's just like an explosion of blood, and it's just like, you're really over glorifying the gore aspect of it. I think it's trying to be like, look, 15 rating, blood, gore, rah! It's like, back off. We got another father and son character in this thing. We already had that in the first 300, which was a really good relationship, and this one just felt like it was kind of thrown in, and it was just like, you're doing this just to make it seem more like a 300 film. You're doing this so we get some sort of emotional connection, and we don't ever get an emotional connection. Lena Headey's barely in the film. Xerxes is barely in the film, considering that this is more or less an adaptation on a comic named after him. It's probably just the backstory, that's all that's kind of connected to the comic of him. I thought Eva Green was probably the best part of the film. I thought she was a really good villain. I thought she really did fit well for the film. There was an interaction between our main character and Eva Green, and the way that they kind of execute it was really strange and kind of like, did you really need to do that? Couldn't you just talked or had a little bit of a fight? And they tried to do a comedic bit of it with the Persians like, huh? I was like, no, that was dumb. And the ending was kind of a bit of a, I didn't like the ending. Really, I didn't. It felt like it was like, we're leading up to the 3rd film. And I was like, could you have at least made it more of a rounded off ending? It's like, in the first film, it could have ended there and no more sequels. Just nothing else, just the first film, which I kind of wish they did at this point now. You know, just done that and left it as that and it would have felt fine. This film made it seem like, we're doing another film. It's like, So overall, 300 Rise of Empire was a good film. Being a huge fan of the first film, I was kind of disappointed by it. Eva Green was a great villain. The main actor, hero, wasn't a great guy. He was just boring. They tried so hard to try and tie into the first film, and it kind of felt just like they were really trying to force that into it. Overall, I'm going to give 300 Rise of Empire a thumbs in the middle. So, what are your thoughts on 300 Rise of Empire? Have you seen it? Have you seen the first film? Comment below, let me know. Also, links down below for Twitter and Facebook. Till next time, everybody, I shall see you later. Goodbye.